because we know that the world needs love. There's probably not a subject that has had more poems and songs and films and sonnets and Hallmark cards about it than this one, than love. What are we looking for when we look for love? So there's lots of answers to that, right? We want to belong. We want someone to care for us, and we want to care for someone. We want to be close and intimate. We want to have their company. We want to have companions to do things with, right? The list goes on and on of what we want when we're looking for love. And so we go looking for love in lots of places. And what often happens is we find ourselves in these big tangles, these big tangled relationships where we're disappointed and there's this push and pull, and we're taking some sorrow and it's not what we had hoped. And either we feel bad or they feel bad, or we all feel bad. So what happens? What happens with this? So I want to try to demystify this a little bit. It's actually quite a deep subject. And I remember sometimes I've talked with you about my friend and the great yogi, Dadi Janki. And there was a time we were together in India, and she was talking with a man who was very close to us. He is in the House of Lords in England, and he was having a bad day. And he said, you know, when I was starting to come to India, my family didn't want me to come, and they were pulling at me, and, you know, they don't really support my spiritual life. And he was kind of grumpy. And she said to him, well, let me explain to you what a karmic bondage is. So I'll tell you what she told him. She said, when you have a karmic bondage, you try to make the other person happy, but they don't get happy. There's a real push-pull. If one of you tries to pull back from the relationship, there's big sorrow. The other one takes big sorrow. Do you recognize some of this in your life? Yeah? So, and there's usually references that there are karmic relationships and there are karmic bondages. So a karmic relationship is when you have a sense of closeness and familiarity with someone. I think I've known this person before. So comfortable, everything's easy. We just click. It's an easy, relaxed relationship. Whereas the karmic bondage is always, there's this back and forth going on. There's tension in the karmic bondage. So the thing we need to, I guess, think about is, what is true love? What is true love? I'm going to guess that for most of you, the closest you've probably come is being a parent to a baby. Is that right? Some little tiny baby that's just so cute, so loving, and you just had to love them and kiss their face off, and they just were happy back. And that's probably the closest that most of us have come to true love. That wasn't complicated by something. So true love is it's when you are able to give and you don't want anything back. In a bondage, there's almost always, in fact, I would say there is always expectation. There's something, however subtle, that we want back from that relationship. Whereas when we're in a true love, we just give. We're full and we just give to that one, and we don't want anything back. It brings us happiness. there's a lot of contentment in it. We feel we can be our true selves. We're not having to work too hard to keep the other person. It doesn't feel fragile. We're able to just relax and be who we are. Whereas in the karmic bondage, we're often like walking on eggshells. So, how do we get into them and how do we get out of them? These karmic bondages. So we get into them, well, from a spiritual perspective first, we get into them because we have unfinished business with that soul. There's something with that soul that is unresolved. And so we get into it. There's a pull, there's a magnetism. We're drawn into those relationships. And we're looking for something, right? When we are, as opposed to just giving, like with the baby example, we are looking for something. We want them to fulfill something. Might be quite subtle. Might just want company. I might want someone to, share my life dream, or I might be much simpler than that. I might want someone to just, kind of cooperate with me a little bit, help me in this life journey, etc. But when we want something is when the expectations come into the relationship, and expectations almost always bring sorrow. So you have to begin to imagine a relationship in which you had no expectations from the other one. Can you imagine that? That's a little tricky, isn't it? Because most of our relationships, it's a bit transactional. I'll do this for you, you do that for me. I'll take out the trash and you wash the dishes. I'll pay for your tuition and you get good grades. I'll make you dinner because you're not doing so well, and I at least want you to thank me for that or appreciate that I'm going to that trouble, right? I mean, these are subtle things, these little back and forths. But the fact that we have those expectations is what sows into the relationship the bondage. We want something from the relationship, and the other one usually does too. So we've created kind of a transactional thing. I want this from you, you want that from me. And so we find ourselves in a lot of sorrow. So how do we exit the karmic bondage? And I don't mean how do we throw the person out of our lives. I'm not talking about divorce here. I'm talking about how do we change the nature of the relationship. So it takes two of you to sustain a karmic bondage. That the way those things end up being lifetime tangles is that both people are participating. Both people want something. Both people have expectations of the other one. So if you on your side say, I don't want anything, I don't have any expectations in this, and you only give, if you just have good wishes for that soul, that is your exit from the bondage. Now, it sounds really simple to just have good wishes for someone, but you can't pretend. We're not talking here about coming up with a good line that you're going to give them in the evening. The next time they say that, I'm going to say this. It's got to come really from deep in your heart. From deep inside, you have to really have, the word is bhavana. You have to really have bhavana for this other soul. May you be happy. May you be contented. May you be fulfilled. May you be at peace. Now, for you to feel that way, you have to feel that your needs are being met in another way. So you have to end your thinking of this as a transactional kind of thing. It can't be that we're going to have this kind of subtle agreement, maybe unspoken agreement of what we're going to do for each other. You have to switch. If you're going to exit the karmic bondage, you have to really switch your stance so that you are only loving, only good wishes. So that's a method, but how do you do that? How do you not want someone to bring you happiness, right? How do you not want that? So I'm going to guess that this is part of what brought you onto a spiritual path. Most people who go on to a spiritual path are looking for something on your spiritual path. Let me just ask, you can either raise your hand or in the chat. Anyone was looking for truth? Okay. Anyone was looking for happiness? Okay. Anyone looking for love? Okay, so we're not always intentionally out there searching for love, but if we want happiness, love is fundamental to happiness, right? Can you imagine being happy if you didn't feel love? So somewhere in the equation, when we're looking for truth and we're looking for happiness, we are also looking for love. Because otherwise you can't even have peace of mind if you don't feel you have love. Right? It's a human need. It's basic to the human nature that we feel love. But what we want is true love. You see, before, when I asked you the question, what are we looking for? Well, we tend to go looking for, and I'm not an online dating person, but you've got to have some thought, right? What are you looking for? Well, I want company. I want someone who does this and that and the other. But actually, when you're in the state of moving towards true love, you are really saying, what can I offer? What can I give here? And who can I give to? I think that's why we love our animals, right? We get those cats and dogs because we can just love all over them. We just love them and they roll over on their back and let us scratch them and they accept our love unconditionally. And that's sort of what we want. We want to be able to give. So the switch that you're making is from wanting things from the relationship to giving, to really donating love, peace, joy, happiness, kindness, compassion, sweetness, etc. in this relationship. That is a new, it's a reset for most relationships. Because most relationships actually are constructed the other way. They're constructed as kind of a trade of some kind, but that's really not true love. So with true love, it's constructed in such a way that you are donating what you have to the other one. And we know that this is what gives us the greatest happiness, right? What makes everyone really happy is when they can give. Yes, we want to belong. Yes, we want someone to think we're special. But what we really want is we really want to be able to give to that one and see the joy that comes back. That's actually the deepest kind of satisfaction of the soul is that. That's a kind of serving, right? This is why I think nurses may be a superior breed of people because they're so big-hearted, right? They're so generous. They go in there to give and give and give. Mothers are that way. Loving fathers are that way. And that's what true love is. So the next obvious question is, how do we get so full that we can be like that all the time? Because our difficulties come from our neediness, from our insufficiency, what I don't have enough of. If I don't have enough peace and contentment, I'm restless, right? I want that. That's the nature of the soul. The soul is peace. So if I don't have enough of that, then I'm uncomfortable. And it's the same with love. That is the nature of the soul. So if the soul has lost the fullness of its love, if it's become empty of love, then that's what starts the search. That's what starts the neediness. That's what sets up the bondage, right? Because I feel empty. I feel like I don't have what I need. So I'm looking to be filled by something or someone. I want to feel that fullness of love. So I go looking for it. I think I find it. And then I ask that person for what I want. I want you to stay home at night with me. I want you to get good grades for me. I want you to, I want to be proud of you. Whatever the transaction is, we want something from them so that we feel more gratified. Now, it's a very subtle thing. I'm proposing this to you knowing that this may not be the way you're thinking of it, and it's certainly not all your relationships. But the ones that you're struggling with, chances are that's what's going on underneath the surface, that you want something from them and they want something from you. They want you to give back. They want you to be with them. They want you to keep them company. They want you to make them proud. They want you to support them financially. I mean, these transactions have all different currency in them. The reason that this is a spiritual topic, we could be having this conversation as a secular topic, right? We could be having this conversation as a psychological topic, but we're having it as a spiritual topic because the meditation center in Manhattan is a spiritual place. And you tune in because you understand we're going to have a spiritual conversation. So we're talking, therefore, about the condition of the soul, your true self, yourself inside. Not your surface personality, not your roles, not your constructed self, your true inner self. And as a soul in your true original identity, you have everything. When the soul is new, when the soul is in its fresh new state, it is completely peaceful, completely loving, filled with love, and joyful, naturally joyful and pure and kind and all of that. That is the natural state of the soul. Because that's the natural state of the soul, we remember that. And we want to feel that again. And I've said before, you can't want something you've never had. If you've never had true love, you wouldn't even consider the possibility, would you? If you've never had a lemon meringue pie, you wouldn't sit around and say, gosh, I sure would like to have a lemon meringue pie. You wouldn't even know about it. It's the same with true love. We want it because we have known that. We have known what it was like to be filled with the quality of love. To be so completely satisfied in love that it spills out of us. That when we look at the other one, we just have a vision of love. So as the soul makes its tour through time, and I do come from a place of reincarnation, and I don't know if you do as well, but if you do, it certainly helps it make more sense. So as the soul moves through time, and the soul begins to get attached to things, and the soul begins to lose its energy, its virtue, its kind of most powerful currents, it begins to be empty, which is what causes us all of our heartbreak. That's what causes us to look for things in human beings and outside. That's what causes us to feel such a feeling of missing and sadness. That's what causes us to go online and say, here's what I want. I want this. I want to feel true love again. And I think these are the things that will help me feel that. So the soul becomes empty. Now, at the time, in time, we understand time to be a cycle. So at the time in the cycle of time, when the souls are most empty, most longing, that's when the world changes. That's when the source, the supreme soul, the originator of life, comes into the world and makes his presence known. Now, he's not a he, right? We just don't have enough pronouns. You can say it, you can say whatever works for you. But when that one becomes available to the souls, that's when you have the opportunity to become completely loving again. And that's what Raj Yoga is about. That's what the meditation center, when they offer all of those things at the beginning of the program, that's what they're offering. They're offering a way for us to understand the spiritual dynamics of loss and recovery, of fullness and emptiness and back to fullness again, of hope and renewal. That if we only got empty, if that was the only thing that happened, the soul got attached in the world and got tireder and tireder, how would the story end? It'd just be a big sad ending. We'd all kind of be empty and that would be it. But that's not what we understand to be the truth. What we understand to be the truth is that the soul then, in its searching, in its looking, whether it's looking for truth or looking for God or looking for wholeness or looking for meaning or whatever you are looking for, when you find your way in the door and begin to be connected with this source, this is when you begin to get the fragrance of what you originally had. You feel what that true love feels like, and it's completely different. When you get that current of that true love from the source, you realize it's not like what you've been having, that this is a completely different experience than you've been having. But deep in the memory track of the soul, you do remember that. It is living in the memory track of the soul that you had this at one point. And so the connection between the soul and the parent, between the soul and the source, lights up the soul. Because the soul recognizes, this was what I originally had. This is what I need. This is what will fill me up. And so that's the move that the soul makes in order to be able to be a giver in a relationship, which is really what brings you true love. So let me pause for a minute, just check in with you, because I've offered a lot of thoughts here, and I just want to check in with you before I move on. Is this making sense to you? Are you having questions about this? So, I would say that the kind of love that we get in our normal lives leaves us a little bit hungry, leaves us a little bit disappointed. And so, and we don't need to leave that love in order to find the other. we can decide that, and I'm suspecting that you have decided, because you're interested in meditation, you're tuning in the evenings, you're probably tuning in at other times as well, that you've decided, all right, let me fill myself up here. Let me bring myself back to that state of strength and wholeness and power and grace. It's a state of grace. As you're doing that yourself, as you're bringing yourself back to that place of power, because love is a power, right? It's not just a virtue. Love is a huge power. If you have that capacity for love, you have an enormous power to move things, to move people, to affect things, to lift things. So as you're getting more adept at that, then you begin to see what you need to do to transform these relationships around you. So you can do them simultaneously. So your short answer for what you need to do with the karmic bondages is to stop the wanting and expecting from the relationships. Now, you don't need to tell them to stop expecting things, because they probably can't, right? Or won't. They wouldn't know where to start with that. But you, because you are developing your spiritual capacity, you do know where to start with that. And so you can simply start with sharing that good wishes. You've got to experiment a little bit first. So if they behave badly, you see, the thing about love is we have this habit that when someone behaves badly, we behave badly back, right? It's like they are rude, we're rude back. They are snippy or short with us, we are snippy and short with them. That, it's like a habit. I'm going to give them what they give me. But actually, when you have the capacity for love, when you have the power of love, then you don't do that. They do what they do. They behave badly. They speak sharply. They slam the door or jump in the car and drive away or cut you off mid-sentence or whatever they do. And you look at them with a lot of love, a lot of patience, because you know that in that moment, that soul's really upset and that's the best they can manage. So you start there. You start by interrupting your temptation to give them back what they gave you. You say, okay, no, I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to look at them with as much love as I can muster and as much good wishes, real, true good wishes. May things go well for you. May you not get caught in that mood you're in. May you be careful behind the wheel because you left here in a kind of a big mood. So you hold those good wishes and you don't let it go into worry, right? Because whatever you're holding inside is what you're conveying to them in a vibrational field that's forming around you. So if you generate worry, or if you generate anger, or you generate disappointment, they'll get that vibration immediately, and then they'll react to that. So instead, you have to put a full stop to those lesser reactions. And instead, you have to take yourself to the place where you are really holding a higher, more elevated stage, so that you can then share that more elevated sense of good wishes and love with them. This is what you're doing on your meditation path, right? You are learning how to not react. You're learning how to hold the higher thought, the higher feeling. Because as you do that, that's when love moves from just being a quality to being a virtue, and from just being a virtue to being a power. So it relies a lot on your ability to connect to the source, to pull that power of love down, to hold that power in yourself and to keep yourself in that elevated state. So let me check in and ask, are there specific situations you have? Are there certain things you're dealing with you want to talk about? Okay.
Does that mean, do you let them intimidate you or let them take advantage of?
Well, you don't let them intimidate you and you don't let them take advantage of you. You know, it's about your inner state. So if your inner state is stable, you know, you have to be fairly, what's the word I'm looking for? You have to have a fair amount of confidence here, because you have to know that you don't need them to behave a certain way. You don't need them to speak nicely. You don't need them to do what you wanted them to do. That you're getting what you need elsewhere. You're not getting it from a human being. You're giving to the other one, but you're not getting it from them. So no, you don't want to be intimidated. You don't want to allow yourself to move into a place of, anxiety or worry or any of that. But you really do have to focus on the state you're in, the state you can maintain. And that's why you meditate, right? I mean, if when you sit in the morning and you connect up, then that's when you're drawing down this love. I see there's a question here from Christina. I have a history of being cheated and I suffer as I forgive, but don't forget. Maybe I'm old-fashioned, but I don't accept that as a very loyal, faithful, and now I'm not open to love since then and never marry and move on. Okay. Had a little heartbreak, huh? Well, yes, of course. You don't want someone to cheat on you. You don't want someone not to be faithful. But if we are only whole, if someone else makes us whole, then we are always at risk. I know this is a hard thing to understand, and I'm trying to think of the best way to explain it. But when you're studying Raj Yoga, your aim is to be self-sovereign, right? To be one who is able to make your own stage strong, clear. You're able to bring to yourself what you need. Not from other people, because other people are also struggling. This is a hard time. I don't know very many people. I might know no one, but I don't want to, maybe I'm missing someone. Most people I know right now are struggling somehow. They're either struggling with their relationships, or they're struggling with their body, or they're struggling with money or jobs. So for us to expect those people to come through for us is just an ongoing disappointment. The likelihood that we will be disappointed. So no, you don't want to accept people cheating on you and not being faithful, but also you don't want to have your happiness dependent on another human being. Your happiness needs to be within the soul, and the happiness gets into the soul by your connection with the source, with the divine. That's how the soul renews itself. And then the soul is in service after that. Then the soul can support relationships, the soul can give of itself, the soul can have understanding beyond reason even. But I know I'm describing something that is not what you're feeling, Christina. So I'm not sure how to offer you something that will make you feel strong rather than disappointed, because that's where we're headed, right? We don't want to live in disappointment. We don't want to live feeling we've been let down by others. That's a terrible feeling. So want you to start with the understanding that you are completely worthy of being loved. You are completely lovable. No matter what messages you got from anyone else along the way, no matter how you might feel discounted in certain situations, you are completely lovable. And that love is your nature. So let's start by taking a deep breath and just release anything that is not love in your awareness. And just allow yourself to turn inside and find your heart. And the natural nature of your heart is love. And whatever else has gone into your heart, disappointment, sorrow, loss, self-criticism, any of that, just open the window of the heart and let it rush out the window. So you're left with just the lovely light of pure love and natural kindness in your heart. Have the awareness that you are love. And allow your heart to fill with the fragrance of love. And as those feelings of love fill your heart, realize that they don't stop at the edge of your heart. They flow into your body, into every cell in your body, into your breath. Your breath is love. Into your eyes, so you see with a vision of love. And they move out beyond your body into the room you're in, out beyond the room you're in, into the world. These feelings of love and deep natural kindness. And anyone you have known, anyone who's anywhere in your memory, in this moment is touched by your love and your kindness. And then the currents of this natural love and kindness move out beyond you, beyond those people that you've known, to all the souls you've never met, all the places you've never been. And each time your love touches someone, they feel that sweetness and that lift. And just allow yourself to feel these currents of love that are your natural nature. And know that everything you need is there the moment you're aware of it. Have the thought not what you need, but what you have. I have love. Kindness. Beauty. And the most elevated company. And then without losing any of these beautiful currents of love, bring yourself back to the moment you're in. The space you're in. Holding on to all of that quiet happiness that comes from love. Om Shanti. So it's been lovely to be with you. Om Shanti. Have a beautiful evening. And don't worry about love. It's already there.